We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. By the time you hear this, it will be Wednesday. I'm recording it on Tuesday night with Trucker T, who you know. He's been on the show many times. He was on the live yesterday. Um, Good guy to have on our side. He's got military background. We'll talk about that during this show. And, Trucker, I just want to give a notice to the people who are listening, something separate from what we're going to do the show about, but I know people are interested and concerned. Guess who I heard from yesterday?
Who's that?
Old Soul.
Really?
Old Soul. She's back at her home. I think she's in Vegas. And she was bopping around the country doing all kinds of things. You know, she's helping kids out. She was here in Minnesota. I said, "Why didn't you call me?" And she said, "I can't call out people when we're in the middle of the fucking crisis." I mean, she's out there on the streets taking care of little kids and moving them around and taking them, but she is fine. And she is home, and hopefully she'll be on the show sometime soon. So that's good to know.
That is good to know. I'm glad she's safe. I know she sure had her share of run-ins. That's for sure.
Yeah, you know, if I was to take all the people I know, you included, and I had to go in a dark alley and get into a fight, I'm afraid Old Soul would be my first choice to back me up.
And I'm okay with that. She will probably be my first choice also.
She whoops some ass. I mean, everybody looks at her. She's sweet, nice, and compassionate, and that is true. But she's kind of like Minnesotans. They're nice until you fuck with them, and
Yeah,
then you
that
got a
way.
problem.
Yep.
Then you got a problem. Well, Trucker, we were on the live yesterday, and you know, I like to have people like you on after a live because we don't get as much chance to interact. You know, we talk some, then a bunch of people come in, and it's a kind of a round robin of people's opinions. So you don't get the chance to talk directly. So I thought I'd have you here, and any number of reasons to have you on the show. But you mentioned something earlier today, I think, and we haven't talked about it much, and that is your military background, given the fact that we're in a war now. So you have a unique perspective of what's going on, certainly different than what I have because I never served.
I don't know if you can see that or not, but
I do. I do. Yeah.
I am repping my guys today. I felt patriotic. Kind of like I told you last night, kind of got a mixed bag about this one, right? I
Yeah.
see all the equipment moving and the bombs going off everywhere. I'm like, hey, our boys and girls are doing it, right? But then I'm like, why are they?
Well, that's a good point.
And that's the mixed bag. Like with me serving before, I have to be proud to see them in action. But I'm not proud to see them in this particular action because of what I've learned so far. And I'll tell you what that is. So you've got Marco Rubio with all of these mixed messages, right? He has a separate message from Trump. Trump has a separate message from Peter Hegseth, and it's insane. So here's Rubio's philosophy, the best I can explain. And here we go. He says, he had caught wind that Israel was going to strike Iran.
Yep.
So in his infinite wisdom, he's thinking, oh, wait a minute. So if Israel strikes, Iran knows the relationship between us and Israel.
Right.
They'll probably hit our targets also, even though we had nothing to do with it. So why don't we have something to do with it first? So that way we're covered and there will be no loss of life of Americans or less loss, as he said, less of a loss. Trump says that's bullshit because I'm the one that started this. And as a matter of fact, Israel didn't push me into anything. If anything, I pushed them, right? You don't know where this shit is coming from. And then you ask, hey, do you guys got a plan for afterwards? And you got Lindsey Graham, right? Sweet Cheeks Lindsey saying, hey, that's not my job or the president's job to have a plan. Our job is to remove the head. Trump says, well, wait a minute. We were going to replace them, but they're dead. And then the second ones that we were going to replace, they're dead also. So my whole point to this is there was no rhyme or reason for this. It comes out of nowhere. They're in Washington, D.C. at a fucking deli talking about it. Some guy overheard him. He ran to TMZ. He's telling them, hey, heard something's going down in Iran tonight. And he's like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? he said, Harvey, I can't say what I heard, but I can tell you something's going to happen. And so this whole thing is just fucked up.
Well, here's the thing: as Secretary of State, we don't know what the reason or how we got into it because Donald Trump is a pathological liar. These people who work for him don't know how to answer shit because he just changes it midstream. But let's just take Marco Rubio's situation. We heard that Israel might bomb Iran. Iran then might bomb American sites. So, what we're going to do to remedy that situation, we're going to definitely bomb Iran. So they definitely bomb our fucking sites. That makes no sense, does it?
It does not. That's like, all right, being in traffic and say, that driver up there, he looks awful fucked up. You know what? Maybe I should go and hit him before he hits me. And that way we're
Yeah.
good. That way I can minimize the amount of hit that was caused to my vehicle. Fuck out of here.
Now, I don't know about diplomatic strategy or military strategy. I'm just a dumb guy in my fucking living room. But if I had that scenario that Israel was going to bomb Iran and I was afraid Iran was going to strike back on us, how might I handle that? I think I'd call Bibi up and say, Bibi, this is a fucking America. You
Hey,
bomb these motherfuckers, we're going to cut you off of everything. So back the fuck down. Apparently, nobody thought of that.
well, you know why they didn't think about it? I'll tell you why. Because all of the report says that they were telling the president that there's no threat coming from Iran. There's no threat that we can discern that's coming from Iran to us, period. And he's
Right.
like, oh, I don't believe it. So that's why he didn't call BB because they're telling him, hey, man, Iran ain't planning on doing shit to us. From everything we can tell.
Well, now, we heard the reports that if they go into war, we've got limited munitions. I'm not sure exactly what that means. British John tried to explain it a certain way, and I don't know if that made sense to me or not. And we have no allies. So the Joint Chiefs of Staff told Donald Trump, these are people Donald Trump put in place to be military experts. Said, Donnie, not a good time. This is not a good idea. And Donnie, true to form, says, fuck you. I know more than everybody. I'm going to do it anyway. Um, so what happens if this goes 5, 6, 7 days and we run out of firepower or have limited firepower? Because I think Iran has kind of been planning on something like this for decades. I mean, they were kind of looking forward to this prospect to have the freedom to bomb the piss out of anybody they don't like.
I saw videos a few years ago of Iran's underground bunker where they were showing like all of their arsenal, like the drones and like this thing is under a massive amount of caves in the mountains. And there was such a stockpile there. I remember saying to myself, holy shit, are we underestimating these guys, right? So what do they go out and do? They shoot off all of their old ones for us to blow our wad, right? That's what John was trying to say last night. The missiles that we're short of are the defense missiles, and that's why everything is getting hit. Because Trump said it himself, and I'm stuttering because my head is about to explode because there's so much shit going on. He said himself, "Well, we didn't expect to be here this long." He thought he was just going to go in there, drop a few, and his Iran was going to be like, "Please, sir, no more." And Iran was like, Shh, "Hold my beer." All right, they are bombing the shit out of each and every one of our bases all over. They're pretty much obliterated all of those bases that are in the region. And I'm gonna tell you something interesting that I heard today. It was an Iranian on the news, and they had asked him. They said, "What's going on with the hospitals and the hotels that you guys are bombing?" He says, we told United States that if they hit us, we would hit each and every one of their bases, wherever they are." He says, "Yeah, but you guys just blew up a school, not a school, but a hotel." And he says, "Well, hey, again, we told the American military that we will only go after your military personnel wherever they are." So he said, if they run to a hotel, that's not our fault.
Yeah.
He said, we will blow it up. And they have been. And it's relentless. I've seen those Tomahawk missiles going through. I've seen Iran's fucking Golden Dome just not work. I saw a guy last night was like, oh, yeah, Iran's Golden Dome is great. Yeah. stopping one or two, but it's not stopping all of them.
You're talking about Israel's Golden Dome.
Israel, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, Israel's Golden Dome, but it's not stopping everything that's coming over there.
Well, as I understood it, Israel's Golden Dome can stop the big ones coming through if they're coming to one, two, three at a time. But when you get dozens of them, it can't protect against everything. You made a good point about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is not only incompetent, he's lazy. And I think he honestly thought that he would go into Iran like he did Venezuela, bomb the piss out of them. They'd get on their knees and say anything you want, Mr. President. Uh, but if you know anything about history, if you've watched what's gone on over the decades, Iran doesn't play it like that. These
No,
people are mean, they're vicious, and they don't care if they die. They don't care if they die. They
that's their
will die
ultimate
for their
goal.
country or their God. And
Yeah.
so Donald Trump is surprised by this. But funny is, thing is, you and I know better than that. You and I knew they weren't going to fucking give up.
Yeah, no, there's no way they're going to lay down this thing, right? Their main goal right now is to obliterate any base that we have that's remotely close to them, and to wag the dog, as they call down. Well, they call him a yellow dog. They want to wag the yellow dog. That's their ultimate goal. And then I heard Trump say today, "Well, I killed him before he got the chance to kill me." So this is what this is about. This is some stupid fucking vendetta that he has out against Iran because of he went and killed their general. Remember? And,
Yeah.
and Iran says that he can't sleep. They put a fatwa on his head. And then Trump put in his military will or whatever the fuck he did to say that if something happened to him, they were to wipe out the map of Iran. And then today he says, well, I got him before he got the chance to get me. Is that what this is all about?
I hope not, because Donald Trump miscalculated again. You know, we want to talk about a regime change or who's going to be. You know who they decided to put in to replace Ayatollah Khomeini?
Who was that?
His son.
Well,
That's going to be a
I
big
heard that.
change.
Yeah, I heard that. And I tried to look it up to see. And they said they were talking about it, but they haven't made an ultimate decision. But that's just BS.
Well,
You know what I mean? They made the
well,
decision. They just don't want to say
what I
it.
read it what I read it's a done deal, but maybe it's wrong. But
No, no.
they got to react quickly, and who else are they going to put in?
Right. No, what
I
I
mean,
mean is they put out the false news. That's what I'm saying. Like
oh,
they
well,
installed
maybe.
this guy and but tell us that they didn't. Kind of like they said they killed Benjamin Netanyahu. We all know that's a lie. You know what I mean?
Well, when did Donald Trump dumb enough to think, okay, I killed the main guy, and uh, then they aren't coming after me anymore. They aren't mad because they have another fatwa on him and Benjamin Netanyahu to 20 million or $20 billion.
Mhm.
So there's some people in Iran that don't like Donald Trump or Benjamin Netanyahu, and you might look at them as a small, weaker country, but when it comes to assassinations or getting people that they want to get got, they're pretty good at it.
They're right at the top of the list.
Right.
Yeah. Donald Trump still believes in the old adage if you take the head off the snake, the body will die. These guys don't believe in that. They raise their children to die for their country.
Well, there's an exception to what you're saying there. You're right. You can't cut the head off the snake and expect it all to die, except here in the United States, because you cut off the head of this snake, it's going to crumble.
Uh, I was just thinking that today. I was thinking, there's so many videos about when it happens, right? What are they going to do? And the first thing I thought was the Republicans are going to be like, whew, finally, I can rest. But there's going to be
Yeah.
no rest for them. There's no rest coming their way, even when he's gone, because we're not letting up on that ass at all.
No. When I think about when it happens, when Donald Trump dies, I'm an older guy, so maybe I can relate to this more than you can. But the only thing I can think of that is going to come to mind uh, when Donald Trump dies is, I don't know, like a 45-year-old song. Cool in the gang, celebrate good time. There's a party going on right here.
You got that right. A celebration to last all the year.
Yeah.
He
And
said,
and
bring
and the
good time and
Republicans
your
are,
laughter too.
I mean, if the Republicans thought we were shameful by not being sad about Charlie Kirk, put it this way, Put it this way, we're going to have such a fucking Mardi Gras in this country after he dies that Sheila Buff is going to have to get in a fight in every fucking state in the country.
And then get arrested and go back out and fight again.
Yeah, exactly.
So let me tell you the state that we're in now. And I saw this on Twitter today, and I about just lost my shit. I never thought I'd see a time that you will have Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes sitting together saying we have to vote Democratic in 26. And those are two of the most right-leaning individuals that you could ever think of. But Nick Fuentes is so done with MAGA. And Alex Jones was like, hey, I'm teetering. Some of the stuff I can excuse, some of the stuff I can't excuse. He said, but this war, I can't excuse that. He said, Epstein files, I can't excuse that. So I don't know. That's a big, big revelation for me anyway.
I heard Nick Fuentes said, just don't vote. I still question whether or not Republicans will ever vote for Democrats because they're just not wired that way. But if they decide not to vote, I'm cool with that too.
Right.
If they have a weak turnout and the Democrats have a good turnout, same result. I don't care.
Right. Well, today he changed his tune. Today he flat out said we have to vote Democratic for 26 and then win in 28. So that's his strategy. I don't know why he came out with that one, but that's where he is today.
Well, and that makes some sense, actually. I mean, if you're so far behind the eight ball, you got to figure a way out. Now, everybody we talk to on TikTok and stuff, a lot of them think, okay, we got this problem. We got to fix all the problems all at once. And if we can't do that, we'll just bow our heads and cry. And that's not the way it works. When you have big problems, you take the biggest problem, you deal with it, then you deal with the next, and you deal with the next. So what Fuentes is basically saying is, let this Republican Party burn because we can't revive it. So give it to the Democrats, put it all on the Democrats, let them fail, assuming that really happens, let them fail, and then we can reemerge with another Republican Party that isn't sullied by the current Republican Party. It makes sense to do that. I mean, I'm not saying Nick Fuentes is smart, but at this point, you got to cut bait and try to start over. That's the only thing you can do.
No, that's exactly, you said it without even watching the video. That's exactly what he said. He said, we have to show these Republicans that they're being punished right now. He said, because they're not getting the message. He said, the things that we voted for, they flip-flopped on everything. And he's still hanging his hat on the Epstein files. That's in his crawl. And I didn't think it would be that much, but maybe because they kept telling them that all the Democrats were in it, all the Democrats were in the files. And then he's like, it's not like they fucked up and made a oopsie by not releasing some of it. He says, no, it's a blatant cover up. Yeah. And I can't believe I'm listening to this guy and agreeing with him. You know what I mean?
Well, and that in itself, you have to be careful because the guy is severely flawed. He and Alex Jones are severely flawed. They can't be trusted. It kind of goes back to these people now stepping away from the Republican Party or the MAGA Party saying, oh, we now realize and we feel so bad and we're crying and we need some hugs. And then they get upset because nobody's forgiving them. Well, nobody's forgiving them because they committed egregious crimes against this country and the people, and we don't fucking trust you. No. The next knucklehead that has a bandwagon, you're going to jump on that fucking thing and start screaming about, let's get rid of brown people again. You just know they are.
So you're saying that all of a sudden now you have a conscience. It's not like we've been telling for the past fucking 10 years that this shit is wrong, right? You go into the booth, you listen to your husband, right, on some Joe Webbin type bullshit, and you vote his wishes. And now all of a sudden you have a conscience and say, hey, children were being killed or they were covering up the children's being abused. And that's a line too far for me. So please forgive me. I want to come back. No, fuck you. We told you 100,000 ways from Sunday that this guy was a crook, that this guy would do all the things that he's going to do. And so far, this has been the biggest grift of all time. And the Republicans explain it away by saying, wouldn't you rather have somebody take something from you in your face rather than behind your back?
Yeah, and that makes it better. Well, the thing about it is if Republicans are critical thinkers and they can see what's happening, you can talk about a lot of things. Oh, that's just fake news. This is just fake news. But here's what Donald Trump said. Donald Trump said he was going to come into office. Prices were going to come down day one. He said he was going to get in and release all the Epstein files. He said he was going to be the peace president and no more new wars. So, what do we have? We have prices going up.
Yep.
We've got GDP going down. We've got the Epstein files in the middle of the greatest cover up in the history of this country because Donald Trump wants it covered up. Donald Trump, since taking office a year ago, has bombed more countries than any other president in history, 7 countries. And then you've got to throw in he put the military in American cities. There has been no bigger war monger than Donald Trump. And now he puts the cherry on top with a fucking war in Iran. Everything he told you has been a lie. And it's right there for you to see. If you still follow Donald Trump, we need to put you on the short bus and try to keep you from licking the windows.
I don't even think the short bus at this point. These fuckers just need to walk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And clear their mind. I mean, excuse me, this guy, I just can't wrap my head around the fact that he decided to open up a fucking board of peace, right? And then have their first war with the board of peace. I don't understand that. That whole philosophy is just a grift. That's all it is.
But I was listening to somebody, and I can't remember who it was. It was somebody who knows Donald Trump or has interviewed Donald Trump. Might have been Heather Cox. But Donald Trump has a tell when he does things. And I've recognized it. I think we've all recognized it, but she quantified it and gave examples. When Donald Trump thinks he's going to be accused of something, he's afraid that he's going to be outed for something, he immediately takes that same thing and accuses somebody else.
Absolutely.
Good example. We know this is a factual story. When Jeffrey Epstein was arrested the first time around down in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
what did Donald Trump do? Donald Trump was buddies with Epstein. We know he was in the mix. He was in the Epstein files. What's the first thing he did? He called the sheriff's department. And he says, "Oh man, you finally got him.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm glad you got him." Everybody knew what he was doing, in spite of the fact that Donald Trump said he knew nothing about what he was doing. But he said, "I'm glad you got him." And the reason he did that, as lame as it may seem, it's to give him coverage to argue the fact after the fact. And they say, "Donald Trump, you were involved." Oh, hell no. I called the sheriffs right away and I told them how much I supported them.
Mm-hmm.
Everything Donald Trump does, like, people are worried about him ending the midterms and all that stuff because he's saying this and that. He can't end the midterms. I don't care what anybody says. He can't end the midterms. He can't be involved in the hundreds of elections. He can't fake all the hundreds of elections. But what he is doing is exactly what he did in 2020 and in 2024. He's laying the groundwork for the argument after the fact.
Oh yeah.
See, I told you it was a hoax. See, I told you it was rigged. And I said this, it's all about setting up an excuse after the fact.
Well, and I agree with that, but here's one point I want to make on that. Now he doesn't have the support that he had. And what I mean by support are the mouthpieces that he used to have, the Nick Fuentes, the Alex Jones, the Marjorie Taylor Greens. Hell, I saw Marjorie Taylor Greene and Megyn Kelly today ripping MAGA, right? These are the voices. Joe Rogan. They don't have the election was rigged voices anymore. They just have his dumb ass saying it. So that might be, I'm thinking that excuse is pretty much like the boy who cried wolf. It's over now.
You will find some people in the MAGA party in the media that were complicit enough to agree with anything and support anything. But now it's getting so blatant and so obvious. Is Donald Trump covering up the Epstein files? There's no other way to explain it. He's
Right.
clearly doing it. Did he say he wouldn't start wars and now he started a war? Yeah, he did. At some point, these people say, "I can't keep lying about shit that's right in front of people's faces."
Bingo.
Not even we can do that. So we got to step back and try to try to recover or rehabilitate or something. And as far as I'm concerned, there is no rehabilitation for him. Marjorie Taylor Greene can say anything she wants about Donald Trump. I would never ever trust her again, and I hope she never sees the day of light in any kind of political situation.
No, I agree with that 100%. But I'm just saying that he's lost a lot of those vocal mouthpieces, and they're
Yeah.
speaking out against him, which they temporarily, ordinarily wouldn't do. So I don't know. When you got the Nick Fuentes and the Joe Rogan saying, that's a little too far for me. Just like you just said, hey, you're telling me, hey, gas is $1.89 in Iowa. Well, I'm in Iowa and it's $3. Sorry, I don't believe you, sir. So I think his time is come and gone. We just need him to fucking go away, Mike, like quick.
Yeah, but he isn't going to go away under his own power. He's either going to have to be died. He's going to either have to die or drag out, because you understand with narcissists, they never will admit defeat. They will never admit they're wrong. This is why he keeps going back to 2020.
Yeah.
It's sticking in his craw that he lost and that people are saying he's wrong. He's going to forever try to convince people that he won 2020 until he does, which he'll never do. And it's the same with everything else. When he's proven to be wrong, that's why I've told people, you've got to stick it in his face. You've got to show him so many things he's been wrong with that he can't handle it. He can't manage it anymore. It overwhelms him, and that's where the crash comes. Unfortunately, we've got media kind of giving him a little boost here and a little boost here to give him hope and keep
Mhm.
his head a little bit above water. Motherfuckers got to let him sink. Let
Yeah.
him sink, and let's be over with it.
Well, let him sink like they tried to sink Obama with the fucking tan suit, right? I mean, just let him just let him go down. I want to go back to the military for just a bit. Two
Yeah.
things. One, the ammunition. So it's true that they were running short on ammo. And the reason why they ran short on ammo is because Trump, again, like you said, he has a tail. He said, well, we didn't expect to be there no more than 4 days. So they only
Right.
brought enough for 4 days because they figured, no, that's it. But when they started shooting all of those missiles over, they had to keep using them bad boys. So now they've got to restock. And that's what he was saying, but he's not smart enough to put it that way. Or he don't want to seem like he's dumb and can't plan, which we all know he is and didn't, right? And then the second thing that burned my ass today, I saw one of the bodies coming home and he wasn't standing on the tarmac.
Yeah. Oh,
You
he
know,
would be. Now, Trucker, you were in the military. At what level were you in the military? Were overseas? Were you involved in action?
yeah, yeah, during the Gulf War. I enlisted in 88 and came out in 97.
So you were in the military and you saw action in Iraq.
Saw an accident in Iraq, and it was not. I don't know. Sometimes I talk about it, sometimes I don't. It's just one of those things where, um, like I said last night, I did a lot of reconnaissance missions, a lot of those. For what? You know what I mean? It was for nothing. And then some days it was for something, but at least there was a plan, in the making. These guys didn't do they did surveillance, right? Oh, we think he's here, or somebody said they hacked into into their camera systems and whatnot, and saw him. But other than that, I don't think they couldn't have planned it any further than that, except for to get the big boys and be done with it. Like they asked him, okay, what about the civilians? You knew there were going to be strikes going towards the civilians. Why didn't we get them out? He said, well, we didn't think we didn't think it would escalate this quick. And it's like that's why you do recon to see, if there's roads you can travel to get these guys out of here because they're going to be bombing from this side, or is there a plane route that they could take? Is there a backwards train that they can get on? You know what I mean? Like where would they set these machines up? All that thing, and I would go out and see where we can set up our mortar uh, machines and all of that. I didn't see any of this. All I saw was them getting planes and drop bombs and think that was going to be the end of it. But
Yeah, it's
I will say this though, and I'm not going to say in their defense. I'm going to say because they're not boots on the ground, they're not doing that. But we actually had boots on the ground, so it's, I'm not comparing apples to apples in case you guys are listening, but what I'm saying is they should have done a better job.
Well, yeah, I want to expand on that a little bit, but and I'm not going to ask you to talk about your experiences while you were in war, but it had to make you. It's funny. I'm going to use a phrase that's not typically used by an old white guy, but when I was talking to Old Soul and I hadn't heard from her for a while, my wife says, uh, maybe, maybe it pissed her off. I don't think so. So I told Old Soul, I said, my wife thinks, because she knows my wife pretty well, and Cynthia thinks I might have pissed you off, and she goes, "Oh hell no! If you made me feel some kind of way, I would have told you." I go, "Good for you, girl. You tell me, because everybody else fucking tells me." But I went a long way to use a term. But you have to feel some kind of way as somebody who's fought and been in battle, and you see what's going on. It's one thing if you tell me I'm going to bomb a building and people are going to die, I don't have a direct reference to it because I've never seen it. I've never been in the presence of something like that. How does that make you feel as somebody who's fought in a war, and now you're hearing about at least 6 Americans who have died already, presumably unnecessarily because there was no provocation? How does that make somebody like you who's fought in the war and fought in battle feel at this point? I mean, we're disgusted by it, but it's got to be a different thing for you.
Well, the first thing for me anyway, um, is a smell. Like when I hear about what's going on, I can smell like what's around, well, what was around. The smoke in the air, the mortar gun that goes off, the cheese that we put in there has a certain smell to it, and you have a feeling in your stomach like, you know, is this what I signed up for? Are they telling us the truth? And then I kind of harken back to A Soldier Story. I don't know if you ever seen that movie or not,
Yeah.
but that was a good movie. So I think about those things, and then like that's why I mentioned that, when you pay the ultimate sacrifice, have somebody at the airport greet you when you come back. I I gave you everything you asked me for and then some in my life, but I can't even get the proper welcoming home.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then to add another insult to injury that really makes me feel some kind of way is that for the second 60-second prayer, the fat fucker couldn't even keep his eyes closed. He's looking around the room, fidgeting, like, almost looking at his watch because he's fucking bored. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he's got zero respect. These guys go out there, and let me tell you something. It's a long plane ride. That's a very long plane ride to sit there in your BDUs, getting your gas mask on, double checking your weapons and all of that shit. Um, and the thoughts that go through your head and that last phone call you made, um, knowing that you may not come home. And then you've got this guy here saying these terrible, godforsaken things. I like my war heroes not captured or whatever the fuck he said. Um, calling us suckers and losers. But you're starting these stupid wars and putting us over there, right? And then you got Pete Hegseth saying, "Well, it'll happen. We call those squirters. Some of the things will get through, and those kind of squirted through." And he just acted like it was no big deal to him. You know what I mean? And I'm not
Well,
even claiming the African American card. It was 3 African Americans that died. And all he
yeah.
could say was, well, they got hit by a squirter. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, bro.
Well, it's like what Donald Trump said. He said, at the time there was 4 people who had died, and he said, uh, and there's going to be more. There's going to be more people, more Americans died. That's the way it goes. That's the best he could muster.
And that's not the way. Yeah, see, that's no, no, no. That's what gets me upset when I hear that dumb shit because he's never donned. He has never even put the boot on because he's got fucking bone spurs. He hasn't been
Right.
inside that gas chamber where he's got to give his name, rank, serial number, right, and come out of there with your eyes on fire and you can't touch your face. You know what I mean? He's never had cat level 5 meaning you got all your battle dress uniform on because you're going to war. I mean, he's never done any of that shit, but yet he can, at least he could do is stand there and watch those coffins come off because you're the reason why they're coming off. And that's why I'm so upset about it. At least go and see what you've done. Feel some kind of emotion, right? He needs to feel that in the pit of his stomach that maybe, just maybe, I shouldn't be doing this because these bodies coming home is more. And another thing is when they do come home, their parents are on that tarmac. You know what I mean? Grieving and crying and whatever. He should be there to see that.
Oh, yeah, you should show some kind of respect. When you talk about respect, and obviously you have a sense of what's going on here, how can you explain that there are people in the military to this day that fervently support Donald Trump, being able to see the very same things you see, but they still support Donald Trump? What the fuck is that?
I'll tell you what. So I saw something today that just blew my socks off. So the military, most people go from the bottom to the top, right? But
Right.
military is top heavy, right? The bigger you are, the bigger balls you have because everybody underneath you has to follow you regardless. So it's a power trip. So if I'm an E4, whatever the E5 says I've got to do, period. The rest is just some bullshit, right? I saw an article today in the Huffington Post that, and this is not me believing in some weird conspiracy or any, because I don't don the tinfoil hats, right? I don't believe in any of that shit. This is just something. Do you know who S.E. Coop is? Remember she used to be on CNN, the blonde?
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
S.E. Cup, whatever her name is.
Cup, yeah.
So I saw her, she had a video out from the guy from the Huffington Post where it's being said that the top military is going around telling the generals and stuff to tell his fellow soldiers that Donald Trump was appointed by God um, for Armageddon because of this war. And they had this big long article, and over 100 service members went over to the military. What do they call it? MFAA or MFMM, which is like the military, just a way of saying, "Hey, we're getting some information that we don't think is correct." And freedom, the military freedom, religion, some bureau, but you can go over there and complain if like say I'm an atheist and I've got somebody trying to push his religion on me because military they teach you there's two things you don't talk about. One is religion, one is politics, right? And if you talk about those things, you're in trouble. Well, they're bringing in religion, saying that this is why Donald Trump is here. He was appointed by God. He's the Armageddon, blah blah blah. He's here, going in Iran to make the world end and all this dumb shit. But this is all that. What do you call those? The one who wrote the 25, the Heritage Foundation. This is
Right,
all of their BS that
right.
Hegseth is trying to get into the military. You know what I mean? I don't know, but first I'm like, I can't believe this. But when you got over 100 people saying the same story, there's got to be some validity to it. You know what I mean? I don't know about the whole Armageddon bullshit, but there's no way they should be talking about religion. They should be talking about what their mission is, how you're going to accomplish your mission, and make sure your battle buddy is safe. Those are the only directives they should have at this point.
Well, what you're saying kind of tracks. I mean, when you've got somebody making ridiculous mistakes and foolish choices and horrible strategies, and you still want to sell that narrative, you're going to have to come up with some crazy bullshit for people to believe it because they all know it's fucked up. So
Yeah,
they say, okay, well, God told us to do it. And some people may or may not believe it. Um, and that's going to be a fatal flaw because most people are smarter than that. Uh, Somebody said something about this attacking Iran, and I'm curious as to what you would say about it. Since all this has been going on with the ICE agents and the military going into the cities, we always hear that the military does not have to follow illegal orders. Okay. If they're told to do something that's illegal, they should not do it, deny it. Um, and we have always asked, well, what's that red line? What's that red line where they finally do that? Some people are suggesting that by going into Iran and attacking may have been that red line, and the military failed the test.
Well, I would have to push back on them just a little bit
Okay.
because they followed the law. Excuse me. They followed the rules, even though I don't agree with it. What's his name? Marco Rubio. He did inform the Gang of Eight the night prior. Well, he informed 7 of the 8 that they were going to war, and he can actually do that. There's one branch of the military, and I don't think people know this, that doesn't need congressional approval to go to war, and that's the Marines, right? So I don't know if he sent the Marines in first, and they did whatever, but as long as he tells the Gang of Eight or Congress, he can actually do it. So technically, it's not a red line. But is it a invalid war? Absolutely. But from a military standpoint, that's how they hold their hat and say, well, Rubio did talk to Congress and they knew about it. So we didn't break any rules.
Well, and I do get tired of everybody saying, well, if you didn't get congressional approval, so it's an illegal war. You know when the last time they got congressional approval for any war?
Probably
World
never.
War II. World
Yeah.
War II. So you got Vietnam, you got Iraq, you got Afghanistan, you've got all these things going after Lebanon, doing all this stuff. And we've never got congressional approval. So you can claim it's illegal, but nobody's apparently respecting that.
Nobody's respecting that. Because what are you going to do? You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube after it's out. You know what I
Right.
mean? You can't pull those fucking bombs back over. I mean, he's already dropped them. Now you just got to either make him stop or, impeach. That's the only thing you can do. You can't. Yeah. As long as Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, tells Congress, hey, this is what our plans are, and they can validate it, that's it.
I just want to say, if you see me keep looking up, the reason I'm looking up is because I'm looking at the primary in Texas between Tellerico and Crockett, and it's 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Just so you know, it's too early to call, but at this point, Tellerico is up 53.1 to 45.8 for Crockett, and
Wow.
I think they have to get 50%, don't they?
I think so. Yeah. That would be a question for Eric, but yeah,
Well,
we all
I
have
think
our.
that's going to come more into play for the Republicans because the Republicans have Paxton and Cornyn and some other person. If they don't get 50%, then there's a runoff with the top 2, and that doesn't come till fucking May, which will give the Democrats a lot of head start. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. We'll keep an eye on it for you. By the time you listen to this, you will have known who won, but I want to at least feel like I'm on top of shit as I'm doing. Because if you remember, I did the interview with Will the night before the bombing, and Will said, I asked him, when do you think the bombing is going to start? And by the time people heard it, it already did. But Will was dead on. It's going to come on a Saturday, probably 1 a.m. And that we didn't know that it was going to be just hours from the time we did it. So
yeah,
I want to stay at least a little timely.
But by the time this interview is over with this podcast, rather, I'm sure something else is going to kick off. You know what I mean? There's so much going on right now, way too much going on.
Let me ask you, and this is a very loaded question, but I want you to be comfortable in answering it, because I don't think anybody out here will judge you for it, because I'm going to say something that if it was going to be judged, I would be judged, and I don't give a shit. Who do you think in this whole Iran affair, who do you think the real villain is here?
The top of my head, okay, well, I'll put them in order. BB is number 1 in my book.
Absolutely.
BB is fucking number 1. And then that murderous, I can't even say his last name, Kamami, whatever the fuck his name is. the Iran
Khomeini.
Khomeini, and then Donald Trump is number three. And the only reason why I say number three because he's too stupid uh, to know what he's doing on purpose. You know what I mean? He's just following orders in my book. So I would give Netanyahu, then Khomeini, and then Trump.
Okay. Now, yeah, in order of vile human beings, it could be Khomeini, it could be Netanyahu, it could go either way with that. But in terms of starting this war,
Oh, starting the war.
who's most
Oh,
responsible
that's
in
Trump,
order?
100%.
I would say Netanyahu, Trump, and then whatever Iran's doing. And the only reason I say that is because Donald Trump's too stupid to think of anything on his own. I think Netanyahu is pulling the strings. He's
Agree.
coerced him. He's manipulated him. He's done something to cause Donald Trump to want to do this. Now, Donald Trump has a side to him that he wants to be powerful and come in and blow up some bombs and then be the conquering hero, which never works out. So I don't know why he keeps trying it. But I think Netanyahu had more to gain by this war starting than anybody in this whole mix.
Oh no, I absolutely agree with that. What did they say that Netanyahu has called Trump 9 times or visited him 9 times since he's been president? I mean, who does that? And
Yeah.
why? Why do you need to visit with him 9 times in 1 year? It's like a visit once a month almost.
Well, and you know, you're always at risk. You're not here, not with the people who listen to this show. But anytime you say anything bad about Israel, oh, you're an anti-Semitic.
I'm
And I
not.
always try to explain to people, I don't mind. I don't have a problem with the people of Israel. I don't have a problem with the country of Israel. I do have a problem with the government of Israel and the murderous motherfucker named Netanyahu. And I think I can speak from experience because we in America are in the very same situation. Americans are good people.
Mhm.
Country's a good country, but we have a murderous, fucking crazy motherfucker as the leader. And I think Netanyahu needs the war, needs a war to maintain power. Otherwise, he may end up in prison. He
Right.
goes into Gaza. He commits genocide. He has very few people to kill anymore. So he needs to start something someplace else. And this is just Donald Trump either being coerced or manipulated into doing this. And I don't know which of it is, because Netanyahu and all these criminal motherfuckers could have anything holding over Donald Trump's head, like maybe Epstein files, because those Epstein files are all over Europe.
Oh,
Russia's got them. Iran may even have some. So this could be quite a mess for Donald Trump if he pisses off the wrong people. But Bibi Netanyahu is the biggest problem, the biggest reason we have this Iranian war. And secondly, it's because Donald Trump is a dumbass fucking dupe and he'll do anything he's told if you ask him the right way.
right. Well, and I'm glad you said it that way because when you mention Israel, the first thing I personally think of is Netanyahu. I don't think of the people of Israel. You know,
No, no, I don't either.
I'm not even think because I know the people of Israel are not out there throwing rocks and bombing fucking people. They're living their day-to-day lives like we are. So no, Trucker T is not anti-Semitic, right? The problem is that guy. That guy has been a thorn in everybody's ass since the 90s. You know what I mean? And he's not letting up. Why, again, why is he in Donald Trump's ear uh, 9 times? And we've bombed Iran twice so far this year. That's Bibi's goal. It's not our goal. You know what I mean?
Well, I will say this too. I think I'll take it even a step farther, and I think I can back up what I'm saying. This country has a big problem, a big Israel problem with our government.
Oh yeah.
And I'll explain to you why I say that. Israel gets billions of dollars from us. They have free healthcare, they have free college. We don't, but we send them billions of dollars. And Israel isn't a poor country.
No.
So why do we send them money? What do we get in return? We get nothing in return. Well, I'll check that. We do get something in return. We don't get it, but people in our government do. I went to a website to look at who gets APAC money. Everybody gets APAC money. They're like Talib, and there's a few of them. AOC, they don't take APAC money. There's a few scattered here and there, but it's Republicans and Democrats. And as somebody who was in the military, somebody who has average or above intelligence, like the rest of us out here, Do you see a problem with the government of Israel putting money in the pockets of the vast majority of our members of Congress? Does that not pose a risk?
Kidding me? Listen, I was a terminal manager for UPS, and the most I could accept from any customer that wanted to do me a solid was $25. And it has to be $25 and under, including lunch. Right. So if
Yeah.
we go to a nice steakhouse, I've got to order a salad because they don't want to give the illusion that I'm giving anybody favors. So
Right.
now you get all these APAC envelopes floating around. They're not floating around for no fucking reason. If they're giving you money, you've got to give them what they want.
Well, of
And
course.
I would hate to see what happens if you don't. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's not a small amount of money. They're giving out lots and lots of money.
When I was looking at the website, depending on how powerful you are of a senator you are or representative you are, they were giving those people as low as maybe $100,000
Wow.
and as high as $9 million.
Jesus Christ. For what though? I mean, what are they asking them to do? Does anybody have we ever asked that question? Like, hey, Lindsay, I'm going to give you 9 million. Here's what I need you to do.
Yeah.
Right. And what is he doing? Is it to make sure that this bill doesn't get passed, make sure that bill doesn't get passed, make sure that the one that sends us the money and the as what's his name? John, God damn it, the comedian, British John would say the
Yeah.
missiles
Yeah.
flying over,
Yeah.
right? So I just want to know what Israel's asking for. Everybody talks about APAC money, but what are they asking them to do with it?
Well, I personally think, and I'm certainly not an expert on this, but I sure sound like I am sometimes. But in addition to the money that they get from America, it's also kind of like a favored son status. We're
Okay.
there to protect them. We're there to back them up. You know, we've got Israel committing genocide. Donald Trump, Joe Biden, everybody still gives them money. And that's what pisses off the progressive left. These people are now committing genocide. Do they deserve an opportunity to retaliate about the horrible thing that happened at their festival when a couple thousand people were killed? Yes,
Right.
they have an absolute right to retaliation, but that doesn't include genocide of tens of thousands of innocent people. It's not it's not commensurate with what happened. And then our government, because we're allies and because we're their big brother, we keep sending them money. And that's what pissed off the progressives. They keep committing genocide and we keep giving them the military help. And I understand that. There's a bigger picture to it, but I understand why that pisses people off. And all I'm saying is, I'm not saying we have to cut Israel completely off, but let's just treat them like we treat everybody else.
Mike Huckabee, right? He was sitting down with Tucker Carlson and he was pleading his case about why we should continue to give Israel money. And Tucker Carlson looked him right in his face and says, they've got abortion on demand. How you feel about that? He said, well,
Yeah.
the money that we give them doesn't go toward that. And Tucker said, well, how do you know? How do you know it doesn't go toward that? He said, are you comfortable with giving money for abortion on demand? He said, well, I'm not comfortable with that part of it, but everything else I am. So they look the other way for everything, for everybody else, but not for us, right? Israel can do no wrong. And again, to our listeners, not the people of Israel, the government of Israel can do no wrong. That's who we are referring to. We're not talking about the citizens because I don't know the citizens. I don't
Yeah. I mean,
personally either, but
how, how upside, how upside down is this world where me and you kind of root for Tucker Carlson in an interview with Benjamin Netanyahu? It's funny, when you listen to some of these members of Congress, like Ted Cruz, and he'll say, well, it says in the Bible that the people of Israel are the most important people and we've got to protect them and we've got to do that. God wants it this way.
Mhm.
And somebody explained, okay, But Israel, as we know it now, was created in 1948. And I'm not a biblical scholar, but that seems like thousands of years after.
Well, you had then you had um, before Christ and after Christ, right?
Right.
And before Christ was way before 1948.
Yeah. But see, that's my point. It's we're going to look into the Bible. It says the word Israel. Now, I'm not saying some of these people don't come from that same tribe,
Right.
but we're dealing with entirely different circumstances. And I'm not scholarly enough to know what they truly meant in Israel. Did they mean a country? Did they mean a nation of people? Did they mean a tribe of people? I don't know.
You mean a person?
Yeah. So, but this is where the religious part of it comes in, and people, evangelicals do the same thing as MAGA. Evangelicals do with the Bible the same thing that MAGA does with the Constitution.
They
They
twist-
twist it in the ways that are going to push along their agenda, even if they have to fucking lie about it.
Yep. Well, speaking of Ted Cruz, he was on the news saying that there was no credible evidence that they had, nuclear weapons or was going to strike us.
Right.
It's like I don't understand this whole. You would think, right? If you look at Fox News, right, and what is it, Sinclair, whoever owns Fox, um, all of their little affiliates
Yeah.
have the same exact script from Arkansas to Florida. They read the same thing on the news. If they can do that, why can't five people in our government have the same damn script and say the same thing? You know what I mean? They
Well,
can't.
well, I'll tell you why. Because you got a goofball running things. I mean, it's the same thing with the tariffs. Donald Trump says one thing, the people that he dealt with says another thing, and they try to negotiate it out. Donald Trump changes the tune depending on what he's feeling like or what he's dealing with at that particular time. And that's the same with this Iranian war thing. He said it was about regime change. JD Vance said it wasn't about regime change. Donald Trump changes it to something different. It's impossible to keep up with Donald Trump, whether you're negotiating trade deals or whether you're talking about the Iranian war, because you don't know what's going to come out of his mouth. It's got to be incredibly stressful for people around him to try to keep up with the next bullshit thing that Donald Trump is saying.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what's stressful. I saw something today that China is giving Iran weapons to fight back. So I'm like, Jesus Christ. Now they're getting involved.
Well, you know why China's getting involved.
No,
China gets a majority of its oil from Iran.
there you go.
So there's this whole security issue here. And this is Iran is connected to Russia. We know that.
Yep.
Iran sells a ton of oil to China. We know that. How does this not get to be a bigger thing if these people feel like their source of oil or their compatriots in case with Russia? How long does it take before Russia and China get mad?
Right. Well, I just saw today where Donnie said that if it comes down to it, it's a two-parter. One, you can sign up for security, right? To get through the Strait of Hormuz. Um, and he also said that if necessary, he will even go as far as giving you a naval escort throughout the strait.
Yeah, I heard him say that, and I thought that was funny because I'm thinking, okay, we're going to let the oil get through the Strait of Hormuz, and we'll give you a naval escort. Oh, perfect. We're in a war zone, and we're going to put a target on our military fucking boats going through there, and we'll probably put it on a schedule so you know exactly when they're going through. Fucking brilliant.
I don't get it. Why not find out where they're shooting from, right, at the boats and take that out as opposed to that's okay. Again, you go back to reconnaissance, right? Infantry. We were grunts. We find out those things. They said if you come through the Strait of Hormuz, we're going to shoot your boat. We're gonna drown that fucker. So find out where those shots are coming from and take that position out.
Well, there's another issue too. One of the other things they can do, they can take some boats, sink them right there and block it, or they can put in mines
True.
under the water and blow the motherfuckers up. So we're escorting an oil tanker and our
Boom.
military ship will blow them both fucking up. This is Donald Trump just saying anything. He
Right.
doesn't think about anything. He doesn't listen to anybody. Hell, his own Joint Chiefs of Staff told him, don't do it. And he said, I'm going to do it anyway. And I'll give you an example of what happens when Donald Trump does that. Everybody laughs about Donald Trump bankrupting a casino, right?
Right.
How do you bankrupt a casino? Nobody loses on a casino. Well, how he lost was he was going to build this big, beautiful casino. It was going to be the biggest, the best ever. And as he starts building it, people come to him and say, look, you can only make so much in gambling in this area. This is what you can count on every day. And if that's what you can count on at maximum every day, and you put all the money into this, you're never going to crack your nut. So you're going to fail if if you put all this money into the infrastructure and make it this grandiose thing, you're going to fail. You know what Donald Trump said?
Fuck you.
Fuck no, I know better. I know better. I'm the building genius. So he does that, and what happens? He fails. So now the chiefs of staff, Joint Chiefs of Staff, tells him this isn't going to work. You've got limited munitions. You've got no allies, and that's a huge deal too. And he says, fuck it, I'm going to do it. So, like he did with the casinos, he will fail miserably with what's going on here. I can't help but think that as powerful as this country is, this is going to turn into a humongous fucking disaster. I mean, it already is. They're bombing the embassy in fucking Saudi Arabia. They're
Right.
bombing military installments all over the Middle East. What do you think they were going to do? And Donald Trump says, I was a little surprised they came out this strong. What the fuck did you think they were going to do?
Play tickle, fickle. I mean, the fuck?
Yeah.
It's a war. Well, here's the thing. And then, okay, so let's talk about this. So you got Susie Wiles, and to a lot of people, it's not a big deal. But to me, again, I go back to reconnaissance. I was always taught to steal with my eyes. No
Yeah.
matter whatever you see, nothing is too small. And the other day, I saw them in the makeshift situation room. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, why the fuck is this bitch got on a rubber watch band? She's not supposed to have that on because that's some kind of fitness tracker. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Those things got Bluetooth and can be hacked in and all that other shit. If you're in a situation room getting ready to start a war, you've got to be prepared for anything.
Yeah.
Mar-a-Lago is not a secure building. I don't care what they say, right? And
No.
some people will say, well, the watch that she was wearing, technically you can't, blah blah blah. If there's a will, there's a way. You know what I mean? You don't do it. You just don't do it, and that way you know it's not going to happen. And you're supposed to be in the fucking skiff
Yeah.
with this shit here. You're supposed to be in his fat ass in Washington D.C. in the situation room where he knows it's secure. No watches, no cell phones, none of that bullshit. You know what I mean? No, let's put some curtains up. Let's have maids and shit walking in the background. You know what I mean? Cooks bringing in diet soda while you're discussing blowing up Iran. Fucking moron.
Well, and the thing about it is, the guys that will tell us that Susie Wiles' watch or anything else is fine are the same ones that told us the signal chat was cool too.
Bingo.
I mean, they don't care. They just do whatever they do. It's like it's literally like putting about 4 or 5 toddlers in a room by themselves with alcohol and steak knives and say,
Well,
have fun in there.
exactly. You got people like British John out there who are
Yeah.
very good at certain things, right? Way, way smarter than I am. And it's their job to get into that watch. So they can't tell me that it can't be done. And that's why Obama couldn't have his BlackBerry or whatever the situation, and Kamala could only have a certain phone. All these things are in place for a reason. These guys act like those rules and laws don't apply to them.
Well, I'm a firm believer. I try to think ahead about things, maybe to a ridiculous level. Um, but even if you think nobody's going to break into a phone or some other security situation, what you're saying, and I agree with, is why even put up the temptation?
I even put it out.
Because you might have somebody who wouldn't normally do it and says, "Oh fuck, I can make some money. It's there. I'm going to do it." So you take away all those opportunities and all those temptations just so you don't have to deal with it. Unfortunately, I don't think these people fucking care. I think they're fucking cowboys. They're more powerful than anybody else. Everybody is shaking in fear and they can do whatever they want, in spite of the fact that they keep fucking losing.
Right. I mean, she might as well had on some, headphones, right?
Yeah.
Wireless headphones where people can tap into. These guys are good at what they do. There's a fucking fatwa. We talked about that on Donald Trump's head.
Right.
20, 20 billion, whatever the situation, whatever the amount is. And they will do whatever they can to get to this man. So I don't put anything past anybody. Can you not wear your watch for a half and fucking hour? Just a half hour. We're going to be in this room for a half hour to an hour. Take all your devices off. You let me wand you, whatever, right? Make sure there's no flies in the room. Just, you have to be extra vigilant. And get rid of them goddamn black curtains. What the fuck?
And we don't need to talk about the curtains. I will say this about the fatwa. I'm saying this unofficially. They say the fatwa is 20, was it 20 million or $20 billion?
It's either the mill or the bill, but I know hell, one million is too much. You
Well,
got
well,
motherfuckers to do it for free.
well, that's what I was going to say. The fatwa, say it's $20 million. I would like to revise that, and uh, I would like to make it 20 million and $20 because I want some of that money.
You want some of it too. I mean, a lady asked a question last night that was kind of interesting. And like you said earlier, it's kind of hard to get to everybody, and because of the way that the live is set up. But she had a really good question. Well, where does all that money go to that he's grifting? And I thought about that today. You know, all of these different places that he's set up to, over, the $1 billion that he's got over here. The thing. Indiana even has some of it. As a matter of fact, his son Junior is building drones here in Indiana, grifting off of us. Right,
Oh
the money
wow.
is just spread out all over the place, and when he's done, now everybody's happy. Barron is worth what? I think they say he just made another $148 million, some ridiculous amount on something that he leveraged. It's all crypto, but still,
Yeah, well, we know for a fact that he's got $10 billion sitting in some nondescript bank in Qatar
right. I forgot about that. Yeah,
that he controls. Oh, they're going to bring it over and put it in the system, but for now we're just going to keep it over there. Yeah, until everybody forgets about it. And see, the thing about it is I don't even understand why Donald Trump is working so hard to stockpile money. You look at this motherfucker, he ain't going to have time to spend it. He
no,
ain't going to make it.
and he doesn't strike me as a person that says I'm going to set my family up for future success.
Oh, fuck no. As he's going down the burning pit, he's going to be grabbing for Don Jr. and Ivanka to take him down with him.
Yeah,
That's the thing that everybody's been worried about is when he finally goes down, he's going to take as many people with him. You talked about him not being on the tarmac when the bodies came in. Um, People have to understand, if you understand that personality, a narcissist, a sociopath, and a narcissist, the malignant narcissist, they literally, I'm not just saying it to be mean, they literally do not care about anyone.
yep,
Anyone. I've told the story before. My dad was very similar to Donald Trump, right? Same kind of personality. And he puts on a great show for a lot of people, and people think, oh, he's great. Um, but when I was first married, and I had no money, no money. I had a business that I was trying to sell, and I had no money. I was having a kid. I was having a kid, and two things happened. I always said to myself, my dad had plenty of money, and I always said, I'm never going to go to him unless I'm absolutely desperate. And if I'm absolutely desperate, of course he's going to help me out. He's going
right.
to take me from the fire and at least give me a chance to make it. Well, that opportunity came up where it was so bad, and I went to him, and he basically said, fuck you. And he
Wow.
didn't only just say, fuck you. I had a business. and he wanted to be involved in the business, and I didn't want him involved in the business because we didn't get along. But he had a lot of money and was going to give us a bunch of money. Okay. So I worked it out. So he didn't really have any control over anything, but it was a way for him to invest money. One of the things he bought was like a very inexpensive Dodge pickup truck, which I drove, and it was
Mm.
a nice thing to have. I didn't need a truck for my job, but we got this truck, and I'm driving this truck. Okay. So, and you know, the payments on it was like a $9,000 truck. It wasn't a lot of money. And
Right.
he, in the 80s and 90s, he's making quarter to a $500,000 a year, which is a lot of money. Okay.
90s, yeah. Hell yeah, it was.
Um, so, so I have this truck and I'm getting out of the business. I'm selling the business. He's getting some money back. I'm getting some money back. Um, and I said, Dad, I know you're making the payments on the truck. Can you give me a few months to figure out where I'm going to be so I can start making payments on the truck? I don't expect you to make payments after this is all over, but can you give me a few months? You're my dad. You're
Right.
rich. Can you give me a few times? And he said, no.
Wow.
He said, no. But that wasn't even the worst of it, because not only did he say no, he took the truck back
Oh, damn.
while still married to my mom, traded it in to buy his mistress a new car.
Nice. Wow.
And that's like, yeah, is that it? And people say, why do you hate your dad? I don't hate him because he's inconsequential and he's dead. But that's the mentality we're dealing with Donald Trump. He can say he cares about you. He can say he appreciates. He doesn't.
Mm-mm.
He only cares about himself. And when it comes down to the point where he is going to be slip and sliding and going down a hole,
Yeah.
he'll take everybody with him if he can.
Oh,
He will
absolutely.
take everybody with him if he can. And he certainly is not going to give a shit about people who need pardons and that shit.
Right. I believe that video. I don't know. I go back and forth in my head if it was AI or not the video, but the sound where he says, "Fuck Marjorie Taylor Greene. Start a war. I don't care. Do whatever you got to do. We're not releasing those files." Some people say it's AI. Some people say it's not. And then at the end of it, he says, "I will drag you all down with me if I go down." And I believe that.
Oh, I believe it too. I don't know if it was AI or not, but that kind of speech I've heard before.
Mm.
You got, when I talk about my dad, he's this professional guy. Everybody thinks he's a great guy. He's an articulate guy, but they have a temper and they can't control the temper and they burn every bridge and they scorch every inch of earth. And that's how they talk.
Right.
I'll take, put it to you this way. My brother and I were in this business. Okay.
Hmm.
We had no money, but we were running it and it was going pretty well and it was going okay. Um, and then something came up with my dad with his taxes or something. And my mom was on him about, doing the wrong thing and all that stuff. Now, keep in mind, we don't live at home. We're just there and he's kind of tied into the business. And as my mom is confronting him about whatever financial fuck up or illegal thing he was doing,
Hmm.
this is how he responded. Now, keep in mind, we're in our 20s. We're struggling in business. We're trying to do the best we can. His answer to that was, well, what about your kids? Those kids are stealing money. They're doing this. They're doing that. They stole
Fuck them
money
kids.
from me.
Talking about you.
Yeah, talking about me. They switch it over because he knows my mom would be upset if we were in trouble. And then I said to my mom, I said, Mom, if I'm stealing money, how come I'm broke? How come I got no money?
Exactly. I
But
wouldn't.
that's what he will throw his kids into the fire to save his ass. And that's exactly who we're dealing with Donald Trump.
Well, absolutely. And I know I keep harping on this, but being a veteran, I've got war plates on my car. Well, American Legion plates.
Right.
Gets me out a lot of tickets, whatever. And plus, I'm proud to have them on, right? And when they talk about paying the ultimate sacrifice, give me 5 minutes when I come back. Stand there, say whatever's in your mind. Don't look at your fucking watch. Don't look down at your shoes. Watch that coffin come off. Watch it get loaded up, and then go back and do your thing. Because I gave you the ultimate sacrifice of my life.
A little respect. And somebody like Donald Trump has no respect for anybody. I mean, you see it. He has his friends, and then they do something he doesn't like, immediately throws them under the bus.
Yeah.
But a lot of these people will forgive him for it. I mean, Marco Rubio, all these people have gotten their ass kicked by Donald Trump, and they come back and kiss the ring. It doesn't say much for their integrity. It doesn't say much for their courage. And these people, I don't know if they realize that when this is done and Donald Trump is dead, their careers are over. They
Right.
can never redeem themselves over how they behaved.
Yeah. And I don't want like a member of Congress or the vice president, excuse me, or some random Democrat out there or random Republican on the tarmac because they didn't send me. I want the person who gave the order for me to go and end my life over in Iran to be there and welcome me back. And they can't even get that much respect. And that's why um, I don't have any respect for that dude whatsoever.
As a veteran, how do you think veterans are responding to this whole situation from the start of the war to not having a plan to not having respect for the dead? Generally speaking, how do you feel veterans
I
are
think they're
reading
pissed.
this?
They're pissed. That ship that they're talking about, you know what they're digging out of the toilets on those ships? It's not
But
poop. It's shirts. It's uniforms. They're trying to clog that damn thing up so they can send it back because they're tired of his shit. They're like, we're tired of being out here on this ocean for nothing, for a man who don't appreciate us. You know what I mean? You don't clock that many. Let me ask you this question: when was the last time you've heard anything like that about any one of our ships?
uh,
Never.
never.
And the reason why you're hearing it now is because they've been out there over 6 months, and they, 6 months, okay, 7 weeks, 6 months, and a couple of weeks, not a big deal. But now you're sending me on the other side of the fucking earth and saying, who knows how long I'm going to be here? I haven't seen my wife, haven't seen my kids. I'm missing funerals. I tell you what, we're going to fuck this ship up. You're going to have to turn this bitch back around and go get another one. You know what I mean? People are they're upset. They're snitching now, like we talked about earlier, right? You got over 100 people going filling out paperwork saying, hey, this is what Sergeant Brown or General Murphy said to me about religion, blah, blah, blah. They're starting to fight back, but they're doing it silently
Right.
without
Well,
with the
I've heard the
uniform
same.
code of military justice.
I've heard the same story about ICE agents too. First of all, you're talking about the military. You put them out on a boat for 6 months, and then they think they're going home, and now we send them to another spot, but not only to sit another 6 months, but to go into fucking battle on top of
Exactly.
it.
On top of it.
And so the ICE agents are having the same thing. These people aren't as experienced, they aren't as trained, um, but they're going out there and they think it's cool. We're going to be cowboys and we're going to get the brown people. We're going to get them out of there. They go into Minneapolis, they get beat up a little bit. They go into another town, they get beat up a little bit. But these people are making the same complaints. We're
Yeah.
not getting the money we were promised. We haven't been home in 6, 7 months. People hate us everywhere we go. We get kicked out of restaurants. The morale for
It's
ICE
wrong.
is horrible. And I got to think it's starting to get that way with the military too, because they feel like they're being used like trained monkeys to do whatever the fuck this dumbass wants them to do.
When I came back and I would do things with my kids, and they would always, like say if I went to my daughter's volleyball game, and it was real big then to thank the service members. So either right before or after the flag ceremony, they would ask for any veterans in the room to please stand, and then they would salute us, clap us, whatever. I got to the point where I would stay sitting because that's not why I joined, is to get that recognition. But it was there. And my wife's like, oh no, you earned that. Stand your ass up. You know what I mean? Nowadays, they treat us like the rocks on the ground that they just step on and keep walking over like it's nothing. You know what I mean? He don't care about us. There's a video in Atlanta airport where it was over 200, 300 military personnel lined up against the wall, all sleeping on the floor because that's how tired they are. And the only reason why we would do that, most people just thought they were just laying there catching a nap. The reason why all of them were laying out, because that was the first time they probably got to rest in days. So they figured, fuck it, I'm going to take advantage of this while I can, because we know once we get back to where we're going, and this wasn't even war, this was just moving them. So they all decided to grab some sleep, which was heartbreaking to me because I already knew what that meant. That meant that they were getting their ass kicked somewhere for something. And this was the opportune time. Maybe it was only 10 minutes that they were sleeping, but at least they got 10 minutes of good sleep, but they did it on the floor. Same thing in DC, had them sleeping on the floor or on benches and, not paying for their hotel rooms and all this other goofy ass shit that if you're going to do something like that, you shouldn't have to worry about any of your needs. They all should be met. Every one of them, from laundry to food to housing, all of that shit. Your job is to fight, and that's it. Not
And
with
that's that. And that is a perfect example of the complete lack of respect, not only by Donald Trump, but the entirety of the U.S. government, particularly the Republicans. You're our slaves. You go do what you're told. Shut the
bingo.
fuck up, and you get to be treated any way you want to get to be treated.
Yep.
And I got to tell you, you do that to people long enough, they ain't gonna do that shit anymore. They're not required to be there.
Well, look what he's saying now. If you go to Harvard, Yale, Columbia, all those prestigious colleges, you can't come to the military now. They don't want them because they teach woke ideology. Are you fucking serious, bro? They just want them dumb as a box of rocks that won't challenge their wisdom, right? And just do what I say, not as I do.
But in the military, it's not just all grunts crawling through the
No,
mud.
it's
They've got
not.
some very smart people there. You need smart people in order to, I don't know, make a plan for an attack on a country. But apparently we aren't using those people because they told them not a good idea and they do it anyway. This is when I said this in his first term, I said, Donald Trump, the way he talks about uh, international relations, diplomacy, the government, is akin to the guy that I would see when I was young, going to the local 3-2 bar, see a drunk guy sitting there with his head in his hands going, well, if I was fucking president, I'd just go burn that shit down. That's exactly the kind of attitude and personality we're dealing with Donald Trump.
Why wouldn't I want my admiral, or my captain, or 5-star general coming out of fucking Princeton? Why would I not want that?
Yeah.
I mean, do I want
Yeah.
him to come from Ivy Tech on the weekends? You know what I mean? Oh man, it makes zero sense.
I got to tell you, if I was ever put in a position to be in power in politics, first thing I do is I acknowledge I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'd find as many smart people as I could get and say,
Yep,
what do you think? And tell me why. And
exactly.
if you sell me on that, then we're doing it. I would not be so arrogant to make a decision that I have no business making a decision on. And that's the problem. Donald Trump thinks his decision trumps everybody else. He's the smartest guy in the room, in spite of the fact that every time he does that, he fucking fails. It goes back to what I said.
Every
No
time.
matter what happens, you can guarantee one thing: he will fuck it up, and that's why this Iranian war thing is going to get fucked up.
What do they call that team that goes out for a politician? Like, say, if you're going to run for president, they have a team that goes out before to see if
An advanced team, yeah.
yeah, they give you good advice. You listen to those people. He has those teams, and he's like, you guys are dumb. I
Yeah.
got it. Yeah, come on, bro. Anyway, fuck
And
that.
that's why he comes to Minnesota and says, "I won the state 3 times." No, you didn't.
No, you
You didn't
didn't.
win it at all.
Fat
He
man.
thinks he can just say something and it becomes real. That's how delusional and how arrogant he is. He thinks by him saying it, that is the law. And you know what? That's probably the way it was when he was in business, because he's got all these yes men.
Right.
Makes a dumb decision and he says it's bright, and everybody around him says, "Yeah, that's right. It's right." He's the one losing the money. So,
Well,
but now
that's what
we've got him running the government, and it's affecting all of us.
Roger Stone taught him that back in the day. You deny everything, you blame them, and you lie. That was Roger Stone's thing. If somebody say you did it, you kick it back to them harder, you deny it, and then you lie about it. And that's exactly his playbook right now.
Well, I think it's been his playbook from the beginning. I think he got it from Roger Stone, but that fire was lit by Roy Cohen, that goofy fucking.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Roy. Yeah,
Yeah, Roy was a very suspect, very criminally minded lawyer who happened to be Jewish, who
yep,
happened to be gay, um, and he acted like he was this macho guy that was tough, and he taught Donald Trump all these tricks. And this is just a mental sickness. It's not a strategy. But when we talk about karma, Roy Cohen is an example of karma. Here's a guy, tough guy, ripping off people, and he was representing McCarthy back in the old McCarthy days. You know,
yep.
the Red Scare and all that stuff.
Hmm.
Motherfucker died of AIDS. Good for him.
That's karma in a nutshell. So
Yeah. I'm just looking up here, and they have 61% of the vote in Texas. James Tellerico has 51.8%. Crockett has 46.9%. Still too early to call, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tellerico wins.
yeah, he will.
Uh, well, the reason I say not that he's necessarily the better candidate, but he has two things going for him that Jasmine does not.
Great white male
White male, exactly, and fucking Texas.
in Texas,
And I'm
and he's a
sad to
Christian.
see this. What's that?
And he's a Christian.
He is a Christian, but I don't hate this guy when he espouses Christianity. He seems to get it. He seems
Right.
to understand what the Bible truly says. I don't have a preference on who wins. I've said before that I think that Crockett is better suited to be put in the Senate because she's got some federal experience and
Absolutely.
she's a fighter and she's a
Right.
fighter. That's not to say that Tellerico isn't a fighter. He's quite adept at fighting, but he's more calm and even tempered, and um, he's not the same thing as Jasmine Crockett. And at this point, we're dealing with bullies. We need to be louder, stronger, and meaner than they are. And I think Jasmine Crockett is that. But if James Tellerico can beat, I haven't seen who is winning the primary in Texas for the Republicans.
Oh yeah, I'm not watching. So what happens with Jasmine if she loses? Just stays
She's out
with.
of a job. She's
Oh,
out. No, well, the reason she's running is because they adjusted the district. She has no district anymore.
oh,
So
they
so
gerrymandered
when
her out.
so on January 3rd, 2027, she's out of a job. And this is one of the things that's always bothered me. We've got really talented um, politicians, strong politicians that aren't even in the government anymore. If
Right.
she loses, Jasmine Crockett will not be in politics, at least for the next couple of years, unless she runs again for a House seat or something.
Right.
Uh, we've got Stacey Abrams in Texas or in Georgia, who may be one of the best politicians in all of the country. If I was to vote, if I could pick somebody to be president or a senator, it would be her first and foremost over anybody I could pick because she's
Yeah.
smart, she's even tempered, and she knows what the fuck she's doing. But she's not in government. And then we got Katie Porter out in California. She decided to
Love
run
her.
for Senate, and Schiff beat her out. So she's out of a job. Now she's running for governor. I don't know if she's going to win or not.
No.
Probably not. So we got three women there that are very valuable to the Democratic Party, and they aren't even in government. That's the sad thing about this.
Yeah, Katie Porter, I loved her because you couldn't beat her with with the board that she would have.
Yeah,
And she's really good with numbers. Really good with numbers.
she broke it down pretty good. So anyway, we're talking about this Texas primary. We're going to wrap up the Rational Boomer podcast. By the time you hear this, you will know what the outcome of that was. But I wanted to keep you up to date so you didn't think we were totally fucking idiots. Um, we're at 61% in Texas. Tellerico is winning. Well, Trucker, I appreciate you coming in. You worked a little bit last night on the live. You're working overtime now on this show. I'm appreciative of you coming in and taking your time to talk and offering your perspective.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime, Mike. You know that. Anytime. Hell, if you can get up at 1 o'clock in the morning on some bullshit and jump on one of my lives, hey, I got you. Don't worry about
Yeah, I always regret doing that sometimes. I don't regret after I'm doing it, but when I see people doing lives, I don't want to jump in alive and disrupt it, because everybody has different perspectives and
it.
they
Right.
have different groups of people. And I don't want to be a distraction in that sort of thing. Because it's not like I don't have an opportunity to speak my mind. I get plenty of opportunities to do that. So
Absolutely.
I want to give more room to other people because you have just as valid and interesting and compelling insights as I do. And Eric does have the same thing, and Will and everybody else does their thing. And what they have to say is just as important as what I have to say. That's why when I do the podcast, I started doing the podcast because I didn't know anybody and I did it by myself. And I don't know if the people were bored with listening to it, but I was fucking bored listening to me. Um, so now the secret to doing a good podcast in my mind is get people that are smart or smarter than you and let those motherfuckers talk.
Let them go.
Let
Because
them go.
we don't mind talking.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Well, Trucker, thank you very much. You got to get up in the morning and work.
Um, no, I don't have to go to work till Thursday. Tomorrow, I've got a meeting with the director, just kind of go over some things. But other than that, no big deal.
Yeah, I don't have to get up either. I'll be up by 9:30, 10 o'clock or something like
Yeah,
that.
just about the time. Yeah. So I work from home,
Yeah.
and during the winter, if it's bad out, I'm not going out. I stay at home. I'll make a couple phone calls. I'm not leaving out.
I get it. I get it. Well, for those of you listening, thanks for taking the time to do that. Hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.